The thick cream envelope sat on my kitchen counter like a ticking bomb. Even from across the room, I recognized my mother's pretentious gold-embossed stationery, the kind she reserved for important social occasions. 5 years of silence, and now this? I'm Marley, and the last time I saw my family was the day I told them I was marrying Frankie. The memory still burns fresh, like it happened yesterday instead of half a decade ago. A mechanic. My mother had spat the word like poison. Have you completely lost your mind? She paced our marble-floored living room, her Louboutins clicking with each step. He owns the garage, Mom, and he's brilliant with... I don't care if he owns the whole damn city's worth of garages. She whirled to face me. We are Wallace women. We do not marry beneath our station. My sister Shiloh, ever the perfect daughter, perched on the edge of the white leather sofa. Think about what you're throwing away, Marley. Think about Dad's legacy. Dad's legacy, the family name, status. These were the cornerstones of our world, weren't they? The sacred tenets I was supposedly betraying. I love him, I said simply. That's worth more than any legacy. Love? My mother's laugh was brittle. Love doesn't pay country club memberships. Love doesn't maintain social standing. Love doesn't... Maybe that's the problem, I interrupted. Maybe we've all forgotten what actually matters. The silence that followed was deafening. My mother's face hardened into that mask I knew too well, the one that meant someone had committed an unforgivable social faux pas at one of her charity galas. If you marry that man, she said slowly, each word precise as a knife cut, you are no longer my daughter. Shiloh gasped. My younger sister Wendy, who had been unusually quiet in the corner, finally spoke up. Mum, isn't that a bit... Quiet, Wendy? Mum's voice could have frozen hell itself. Marley needs to understand the consequences of her choices. I stood straighter, feeling something steel itself inside me. I understand perfectly. I choose Frankie. The wedding was small but perfect. My best friend Angela stood as my maid of honor, and the autumn leaves provided all the decoration we needed. Frankie's eyes lit up when he saw me walking down the aisle. Not because of my dress or my makeup, but because of me. Just me. No one from my family came. Not even Wendy, though she sent a card later with a brief "I'm sorry" scrawled inside. Now, 5 years later, this envelope appears. My hands trembled slightly as I finally picked it up, sliding my finger under the flap. Inside was an invitation to the annual Wallace family reunion, held at our summer estate in the Hamptons. The same event I'd attended every year of my life until the disownment. My phone buzzed, Angela calling. I answered on speaker while still staring at the invitation. Did you get one too? She asked without preamble. You got an invitation to my family reunion? Yeah, weird, right? I mean, considering I was basically excommunicated along with you for supporting your marriage. I frowned, something clicking into place. When's the last time you talked to Shiloh? Last week, actually. At that tech conference downtown. She seemed weirdly interested in Frankie's new project. My stomach dropped. Of course. Frankie's startup had just secured major funding. The tech blogs were calling him the next big thing in sustainable energy. They know, I said quietly. Know what? About Frankie's success, the money, the connections he's making. I laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. Suddenly, I'm worth acknowledging again. What are you going to do? I traced my finger over the embossed lettering, feeling the familiar weight of family expectations pressing down on me. But I wasn't that same girl anymore, desperate for approval. I think, I said slowly, it's time to show them exactly who I've become. Marley? Angela's voice held a note of warning. Don't do anything rash. Oh, I won't. I smiled, thinking of all the lessons my mother had taught me about social warfare. I'm going to be perfectly, exquisitely civil, just like Mum always wanted. As I hung up, my phone buzzed with a text from Frankie. Home soon. Big news about the company. Love you. I looked at the invitation one more time before making my decision. Time to RSVP yes, to what promised to be the most interesting family reunion in Wallace history. Your mother used to say there were two kinds of people in this world, Frankie mused, examining the invitation over breakfast. Those who earned their way up, and those who were born there. Guess which category she put me in? I stirred my coffee, watching the cream create perfect swirls. And now that you've earned your way up, they suddenly want to play happy families. You don't have to go, he said softly. We could spend that weekend in Bali instead. That investor meeting's there anyway. The mention of the investor meeting made something click. Wait, isn't the reunion the same weekend as your big announcement? Frankie's pause told me everything. They knew, I said. Of course they knew. Shiloh's husband works in venture capital. They're not just trying to reconcile, they're trying to position themselves. The memory of my last real conversation with Shiloh surfaced, sharp and clear. You'll regret this, she'd said, cornering me in the kitchen the day after I announced my engagement. Love doesn't last, but poverty does. Frankie's not poor, I defended. He's building something amazing. He's a dreamer with a garage and some half-baked ideas about sustainable energy. She'd laughed. Wake up, Marley. While you're playing house with your mechanic, I'll be securing our family's future with James. James, her venture capitalist husband, who'd probably fed her every detail about Frankie's rising success. My phone buzzed. Speaking of the devil. Shiloh's name flashed on the screen. Should I? I asked Frankie. He shrugged. Might be enlightening. I answered. Hello? Marley. Shiloh's voice dripped honey. I was so hoping you'd pick up. Did you get the invitation? I did. Quite a surprise after 5 years of radio silence. Oh, darling, water under the bridge. Mum's been beside herself about healing this rift. We all have. I caught Frankie's eye across the table. He raised an eyebrow. Really? I kept my voice neutral. What changed? Nothing changed. We just miss you and... She paused dramatically. I hear congratulations are in order. Frankie's done quite well for himself, hasn't he? There it was. He has, I said, though I remember you having some strong opinions about his half-baked ideas. The silence lasted a beat too long. Ancient history. Listen, I'm having lunch with some investors today. Why don't you join us? We can catch up properly. Investors? I repeated innocently. Anyone I know? Oh, just some people interested in sustainable energy. Your field now, isn't it? I smiled despite myself. Same old Shiloh, always angling for an advantage. Actually, I have plans with Angela today. Angela? Shiloh's voice cooled noticeably. You still associate with her? She stood by me when it mattered. Unlike some people. Another pause. Marley, don't be difficult. We're trying to make amends here. Are you? Or are you trying to make connections? I don't appreciate what you're implying. And I don't appreciate being ignored for 5 years until my husband becomes financially valuable to you. Frankie reached across the table, squeezing my hand. That's not fair, Shiloh protested. We're family. Funny, that's not what Mom said when she disowned me. People change, Marley. Can't you just... I'll see you at the reunion, Shiloh. I hung up before she could respond. Frankie pulled me into a hug as soon as I put the phone down. You okay? No, I admitted. But I will be. What time's your meeting? In an hour. Want to come? We're finalizing the announcement details. I shook my head. I need to see Angela, figure out why they invited her too. Be careful, he warned. Your family plays dirty when they want something. Trust me, I remember. I grabbed my bag. That's why I'm not playing their game. I'm playing mine. As I headed for the door, my phone buzzed again. A text from Wendy. Is it true? Are you coming back? I stared at it for a long moment. Wendy, who'd sent that apologetic card. Wendy, who'd tried to defend me that day. Wendy, who still never quite stood up to our mother. I typed back, not coming back, just visiting. Her response was immediate. There's something you should know. Can we meet? I showed Frankie the message. Trap? He asked. Maybe, but Wendy was always the honest one. I texted back. Tomorrow, coffee shop on 5th, noon. Whatever they're planning, Frankie said, kissing my forehead. Remember, you're stronger than they think. I nodded, but as I left our apartment, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. The Wallace family didn't do anything without a strategy, and I had a sinking feeling I was about to find out exactly what game they were playing. The Wallace summer estate loomed before me, its pristine white columns and manicured lawns exactly as I remembered. Frankie squeezed my hand as we walked up the circular driveway. "Ready?" he asked. Before I could answer, the massive oak door swung open. My mother stood there, perfect as ever in her cream Chanel suit, not a silver hair out of place. "Darling," she air-kissed both my cheeks, her perfume overwhelming. "And Frankie, my dear boy, how wonderful to see you both." The same woman who'd called him that mechanic now beamed at him like he was her favorite son-in-law. I felt sick. The house was packed with the usual suspects, distant relatives, family friends, and business associates, all pretending the last 5 years hadn't happened. Shiloh materialized immediately, champagne flutes in hand. "You made it." She pressed a glass into my hand. "James is dying to catch up with Frankie. Shop talk, you know how men are." Before I could object, she'd whisked Frankie away toward a group of suits in the corner. I watched him go, noting how they immediately closed ranks around him. "He cleans up nicely," my mother murmured beside me. "Who would have thought?" "I would have," I said sharply. "That's why I married him." She waved her hand dismissively. "Ancient history. We're just happy to have you both back where you belong." "Are we? Because last time I checked, I didn't belong here at all. Marley." Her voice dropped to that dangerous whisper I remembered from childhood. "Can't we move forward? For the family." "The family?" I laughed. "Or the family investments?" A flash of something, anger, worry, crossed her face before she smoothed it away. "I don't know what you mean." "Mom!" Wendy's voice cut through the tension. She appeared looking flustered, her dark hair escaping its usual sleek style. "Could you help with the caterers? There's an issue with the seafood." Our mother's face tightened. "Excuse me, dear, duty calls." She clicked away on her designer heels. As soon as she was gone, Wendy grabbed my arm. "We need to talk, now." She dragged me into Dad's old study, the one room that hadn't changed since his death. The leather chairs still smelled like his cigars. "They're planning something," Wendy blurted. "I overheard Mum and Shiloh last night. They're trying to get Frankie to merge his company with James's firm." I sank into one of the chairs. "Of course they are." "There's more." Wendy glanced at the door. "They've already been talking to his board members, behind his back." My blood ran cold. "How long?" "Months. She broke off as voices approached. The door opened and Shiloh swept in with James in tow. "There you are. Having a sister moment?" "Something like that," I said, studying her perfectly composed face. How long had she been plotting this? "Frankie's quite the star out there," James said smoothly. "Everyone's fascinated by his energy storage breakthrough, revolutionary stuff." "Yes," I smiled tightly. "He's worked hard for it." "Hard work only gets you so far," Shiloh chimed in. "Sometimes you need the right connections to really succeed." The implied threat wasn't subtle. "Funny," I said, standing up. "That's exactly what Dad used to say, right before he warned us about wolves in sheep's clothing." Shiloh's smile faltered slightly. "I'm sure I don't know what you mean." "Don't you? Because I just got some very interesting information about who's been meeting with Frankie's board." The room went deadly quiet. James's face hardened. "Careful, Marley," he said softly. "Business is complicated. You wouldn't want to interfere with things you don't understand." "Oh, I understand perfectly." I moved toward the door. "And so will Frankie." Shiloh grabbed my arm. "Don't be stupid. This merger would benefit everyone." I yanked free. "Everyone except Frankie." "He's just one person," she hissed. "This is about family." "No," I said. "This is about greed. And I won't let you destroy what he's built." I stormed out, my heart pounding. In the main room, Frankie was still surrounded by investors, my mother hovering nearby like a proud parent. He caught my eye across the room, his smile fading as he saw my expression. I gave him a slight shake of my head. My phone buzzed, a text from Angela. "Got the documents you asked for. You need to see these now." I looked back at my family. My mother's calculated charm, Shiloh's barely concealed ambition, even Wendy's nervous hovering. They thought they had it all planned out. They had no idea what was coming. I texted back, "Meet me in 20. Bring everything." The game they started. I was about to finish it, and this time, I had proof. "Your sister's been busy," Angela said, spreading documents across her kitchen table. "Look at these meeting dates. Every Tuesday for the past 3 months, like clockwork." I scanned the papers. Board meeting minutes, email threads, private investor reports, all showing Shiloh and James's careful manipulation behind the scenes. "They're trying to force a hostile takeover," I muttered, "using family connections to... Well, the prodigal daughter plays detective." I whirled around. Chandler Bryant stood in Angela's doorway, looking exactly as he had 5 years ago. Expensive suit, calculated smile, dangerous eyes. "What are you doing here?" I demanded. "Angela called me." He strolled in, picking up one of the documents. "Thought I might be interested in your family's latest scheme." "She's right." I turned to Angela. "You called him, after everything." She held up her hands. "Look, I know he's not your favorite person, but he knows more about corporate takeovers than anyone. And he owes me a favor." "Several, actually," Chandler smirked. "But who's counting?" He settled into a chair. "So, the Wallace family wants to swallow your husband's company whole." "Not surprising. James has been trying to get into sustainable energy for years." "I won't let them," I said firmly. "No?" He raised an eyebrow. "And how exactly do you plan to stop them? These documents are interesting, but hardly smoking guns. Corporate espionage is a delicate game." "I'm not playing games." "That's your problem, Marley. You never did." He leaned forward. "But I can help you win this one." "At what cost?" His smile widened. "Smart girl." "Always was. Here's the deal. I have evidence of James's less-than-legal business practices, enough to torpedo not just this takeover attempt, but his entire firm. And you want first rights to partner with Frankie's company after the dust settles. My terms, my timeline." Angela cleared her throat. "It's not a bad deal, Ma." "It's exactly the kind of deal my family would make," I snapped. "Trading one manipulation for another." "True," Chandler admitted, "but at least I'm honest about my motives. Can your family say the same?" My phone buzzed. Wendy again. "Where are you?" "Mom's asking questions. And Shiloh looks worried." "Good," I muttered. "Tick-tock, Marley," Chandler said. "Your family's not going to wait forever. And neither will I." "I need to think about it." "You have until tomorrow. After that, I might decide James's offer is more interesting than yours." He stood straightening his jacket. "For what it's worth, I always thought you were the smartest Wallace. Don't prove me wrong now." After he left, Angela touched my arm. "You okay?" "No." I gathered the documents. "My family's trying to steal my husband's company, and my only ally might be the man who tried to destroy my father's business." "There's another way," she said quietly. "Tell Frankie everything. Let him handle it. And prove my family right, that I'm just the mechanic's wife who doesn't understand business. Since when do you care what they think? Since they threatened everything Frankie's built." I took a deep breath. "Sorry, I need to fix this." My phone buzzed again. This time it was Shiloh. "We need to talk, privately. It's about Frankie's announcement next week." I showed Angela the message. "Trap?" she asked. "Obviously. But maybe..." An idea started forming. Maybe that's exactly what we need. "Marley, text Chandler," I said. "Tell him I'll think about his offer. But first, I need to make a call." I dialed Shiloh's number. "Finally," she answered. "Listen, about earlier." "Save it. You want to talk? Fine. Tomorrow, noon, at Dad's old office downtown." "The abandoned building? Why there?" Because that's where Dad taught us our first lesson about business. Remember what he said? A pause. Always negotiate from a position of strength. Exactly. See you tomorrow, sis. I hung up and looked at Angela. I'm going to need those documents, and your help. What are you planning? I thought about my father's old office, about the lessons learned there, about strength and weakness and family loyalty. I'm planning to give my sister exactly what she wants, a business lesson she'll never forget. Angela studied my face. Just be careful. Remember what happened last time someone tried to outmaneuver your family? Oh, I remember. I gathered my things. That's why this time, I'm not just going to outmaneuver them. I'm going to beat them at their own game. As I left, my phone lit up with one final message from Frankie. Everything okay? You disappeared from the reunion. I typed back, fine, just handling some family business. Trust me? His response was immediate. Always. I just hoped that trust wasn't about to be tested in ways neither of us expected. The business gala sparkled with champagne and ambition. Everyone who mattered in the tech world had turned out for Frankie's pre-announcement celebration, including my family, front and center, as if they'd never disowned me. Quite the turnout, my mother said, materializing beside me in a designer gown that probably cost more than my first car. Though some of the guests are unexpected, she was looking at Chandler, who'd arrived uninvited and was now chatting with James. The tension between them was visible even across the room. Funny how business brings people together, I said sweetly, or tears them apart. Her perfectly made-up face tightened. What exactly are you implying? You tell me, Mom. After all, you're the one who taught me to always watch the players, not the game. Marley. Her voice dropped to that familiar warning tone. Whatever you think you know, I know everything. I turned to face her fully. Every meeting, every call, every backdoor deal with Frankie's board. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? The color drained from her face. We were trying to help. Help who? Your bank account or your social standing? Both, she admitted, surprising me with her honesty. And you. Do you think Frankie can handle this level of success on his own? He needs our connections, our experience. He needs people he can trust, which rules out this entire family. We are your family. No. I kept my voice level. You gave up that right 5 years ago, remember? You are no longer my daughter. Those were your exact words. She flinched. I was angry, scared for your future. And now you're scared for yours. I smiled as Frankie approached us. Aren't you, Mom? Everything okay here? Frankie asked, sliding an arm around my waist. Perfect, I said. Mom was just leaving. She opened her mouth to protest but was interrupted by the event coordinator announcing dinner. As she walked away, Frankie squeezed my hand. You sure you want to do this? He whispered. I nodded. We'd spent hours discussing it after I showed him the documents. His anger had been explosive, but his solution had been brilliant. Ladies and gentlemen, the coordinator announced, please welcome our host, Frankie Jenkins. Applause filled the room as Frankie took the stage. I watched my family's faces, their eager anticipation of the announcement they thought would seal their takeover. Thank you all for coming, Frankie began. I have 2 announcements tonight. First, our new energy storage technology has been approved for global distribution. More applause. Shiloh was practically vibrating with excitement. And second, he continued, I'd like to invite my wife, Marley, to share some exciting corporate restructuring news. The room went silent. This wasn't part of the script my family had planned. I felt their eyes boring into me as I walked to the stage. Thank you, honey. I took the microphone, scanning the crowd. As of tomorrow morning, our company will be announcing a new partnership, not with local investors. I paused, watching James's face darken, but with global tech industries. The gasps were audible. Global tech was James's biggest competitor. This partnership, I continued, ensures our technology remains under our control while accessing global distribution channels. And speaking of control, I pulled out my phone, pressing send on a pre-written email. The board has just received documented evidence of attempted corporate espionage by certain local parties. Shiloh stood up so fast her chair toppled. You can't. I can. And I did. I held up the documents Angela had found. Everything's here. Every meeting, every illegal approach to our board members, every attempt to force a hostile takeover. The room erupted in whispers. James was already on his phone, probably calling his lawyers. My mother sat frozen, her social mask finally cracking. But, I continued, silencing the room, in the spirit of family. I met each of their eyes. We won't be pressing charges. Consider it a wedding gift, 5 years late. Frankie joined me on stage, taking my hand. The contracts with Global Tech are signed. It's done. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of congratulations and carefully avoided glances from my family. As the crowd thinned, Wendy approached us. That was impressive, she said quietly, and deserved. Thank you, I replied, surprised by her sincerity. She glanced at our mother, who was being consoled by Shiloh. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. For everything. I know. As she walked away, Frankie pulled me close. You okay? I watched my family leave. My mother's straight back, Shiloh's angry stride, James's defeated slump, 5 years of pain and rejection, avenged in one night. Yeah, I said, realizing I meant it. I really am, but as we left the gala, I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. My family didn't take defeat well. They never had. And somewhere in the crowd, I caught Chandler watching us, his expression unreadable. The war might be won, but the battles weren't over yet. You've ruined everything. Shiloh burst into my office the next morning, her perfect composure finally shattered. Do you have any idea what you've done? I looked up from my laptop calmly. I protected my husband's company from a hostile takeover. Pretty successfully, I'd say. James is facing an internal investigation. His investors are pulling out. Our reputation... Your reputation, I stood up. What about my reputation when you all cut me off? When you told everyone I was having a mental breakdown because I chose love over money? She faltered. That's different. How? Because you were the one doing the destroying then. We were trying to protect you. From what? Being happy, having a genuine relationship instead of a business arrangement disguised as a marriage? Shiloh sank into a chair, suddenly looking exhausted. You don't understand. Mum and Dad's marriage. It wasn't what you think. What do you mean? Dad was going bankrupt when he met Mom. She saved the family business with her inheritance. That's why she's so obsessed with status, with making the right connections. She was terrified we'd end up like him. I sat back down, processing this. Why are you telling me this now? Because, her voice cracked, because James really is in trouble, and I don't know how to fix it. Before I could respond, my office door opened again. Wendy slipped in, followed by Angela. Sorry to interrupt, Wendy said, but you both need to see this. She handed me her phone. On the screen was a business news article. Tech mogul Chandler Bryant announces surprise bid for Global Tech Industries. If he succeeds, Angela said quietly, he'll control your partnership deal. My stomach dropped. Chandler's words from yesterday echoed in my head. First rights to partner with Frankie's company. My terms, my timeline. He played us, I realized. He knew about James's troubles, knew it would push us toward Global Tech. And now he's making his move, Shiloh finished. God, Marley, what have we all done? My phone buzzed, Frankie calling. Hey, what's... Turn on the news, he cut in. Now. I grabbed the remote for my office TV. Chandler's face filled the screen, standing at a podium. And with this acquisition, we'll be revolutionizing the sustainable energy sector, starting with some exciting innovations from a small but promising startup. He's announcing it early, Angela whispered, before your official announcement tomorrow. I watched Chandler smile at the cameras, that same calculated expression he'd worn in my kitchen. He was forcing our hand, announce our partnership with a company he was about to control, or scramble for alternatives at the last minute. "We need to stop him," Wendy said. "How?" Shiloh demanded. "He has the resources, the connections. So do we." I turned to face my sisters. "If we work together—" They stared at me. "After everything that's happened?" Shiloh asked. "Look, we can hate each other later. Right now, we need to save both our companies. Are you in?" A moment of silence, then Wendy stepped forward. "I'm in." Shiloh hesitated, then nodded. "What's the play?" "Angela," I turned to my friend, "call your contacts at the financial papers. We need to know exactly how Chandler's financing this takeover." She was already dialing. "On it." "Wendy, you still have friends in the Regulatory Commission?" "Several. You think there's something there?" "Chandler never makes a move this big without insurance. Find it." "And me?" Shiloh asked. I met her eyes. "How many of Mom's social circle are global tech shareholders?" A slow smile spread across her face, the first genuine one I'd seen in years. "Enough to make a difference." "Good, get Mom on board. Time for her to put those social connections to real use." My phone buzzed again, Chandler this time. I put it on speaker. "Enjoying the show?" he asked. "You won't get away with this." He laughed. "I already have, but I'm feeling generous. Come to my office in an hour. We can discuss terms." "No thanks. I think I'll wait for my family's counteroffer." A pause. "Your family? The ones who tried to steal your husband's company yesterday?" "Yes. Turns out they're not the only ones who can learn from their mistakes." Another pause, longer this time. "Don't do anything you'll regret, Marley." "Too late." I hung up and looked at my sisters. "We have 1 hour to save both our companies. Ready?" They nodded, and for the first time in 5 years, I felt the power of the Wallace family alignment, not for greed or status, but for justice. "Then let's go remind Chandler why you don't mess with family." I grabbed my coat. "Any family." Chandler's corner office felt like a trap, all glass and steel and false warmth. He sat behind his massive desk, looking annoyingly confident as my mother, sisters, and I filed in. "The whole Wallace clan," he mused. "I'm honored." "Save it," my mother snapped, surprising me. "You tried to manipulate my daughters, like you tried to manipulate your son-in-law's company." He smiled. "We're all players here, Kennedy. Let's not pretend otherwise." "Show him," I nodded to Wendy. She dropped a thick folder on his desk. "Your financing for the global tech takeover. It's built on sand." He didn't even glance at it. "Is it?" 3 of your major investors pulled out an hour ago," Shiloh said, checking her phone. 4 more are meeting with their boards right now. That got his attention. "What did you do?" "We made some calls," my mother said smoothly. "It's amazing how many people at my charity gala last month were global tech shareholders. Lovely people. Very concerned about—" What was the phrase, Marley? "Ethical corporate governance," I supplied. Chandler's smile tightened. "Shareholders can be convinced." "So can regulatory committees," Wendy added, "especially when they receive anonymous tips about certain offshore accounts." "You're bluffing." "Are we?" I pulled out my own phone. "Angela, you still at the Financial Times?" "Yes," her voice came through the speaker, "running the story in 10 minutes unless you tell me otherwise." Chandler stood up slowly. "You really want to play this game? I can destroy all of you." "No," my mother stepped forward. "You can't, because unlike you, we understand the difference between power and strength. And the difference between revenge and justice," Shiloh added. "Here's what's going to happen," I said. "You're going to withdraw your bid for global tech, publicly. You're going to apologize for the premature announcement about partnerships with our company." "And why would I do that?" "Because if you don't," my mother smiled her deadliest social smile, "every connection you've built, every deal you've made, every secret you've kept, they all come out. Today. You don't have that kind of influence anymore, Kennedy. Alone? No. But together, she gestured to all of us. We're not just the Wallace family. We're every lesson you taught us, every betrayal you engineered, every mistake you made us learn from. His face darkened. You're making a serious enemy. No, I corrected. We're making a business decision. Isn't that what you taught me, Chandler? It's never personal, just business? The silence stretched. I could practically see him calculating odds, weighing options. Finally, he reached for his phone. Janet, prepare a press release. We're withdrawing the global tech bid. And, I prompted. He gritted his teeth. And apologizing for any premature partnership announcements. Smart choice, my mother said. Ladies? We turned to leave, but I paused at the door. Oh, and Chandler, don't ever come after my family again. Any of them. Outside his office, my legs nearly gave out. Wendy grabbed my arm. Holy shit, she whispered. Did we just do that? Language, dear, our mother said automatically, then laughed. A real laugh, one I hadn't heard in years. Mom, I said slowly. What you did in there? Oh, darling, she touched my cheek. Did you think I spent 30 years hosting charity galas just for fun? Information is power, and no one gossips quite like the wealthy. My phone buzzed, Frankie again. Is it done? It's done, I confirmed. Chandler's backing off. The partnership with Global Tech is safe. And James? Shiloh asked quietly. I looked at her. My sister, who'd tried to steal my husband's company, but had also just helped save it. The investigation stays, I said. But maybe we can help with the rebuilding. The right way this time. She nodded, understanding the olive branch for what it was. Well, my mother straightened her jacket. I believe we all have a press conference to prepare for, shall we? As we headed for the elevator, I watched them, my family, in all their complicated, difficult glory. Not perfect, not entirely trustworthy, but mine. Marley, Wendy touched my arm. Are we okay now? No, I said honestly, but maybe we can be, eventually. That's fair, Shiloh agreed. One crisis at a time. One crisis at a time, I echoed, stepping into the elevator. As the doors closed, I caught our reflection in the mirrored walls. 4 Wallace women, standing together instead of apart. Not quite healed, but no longer broken. My phone buzzed one last time. Angela. Story killed. Press conference in 30. Ready to tell your version? I looked at my family and smiled. Ready. It was time to write our own story, on our own terms, together. And that's why I'm standing here today, I said into the microphone, facing the packed auditorium. Not just to announce our global partnership, but to redefine what family business really means. The crowd, investors, press, and yes, my entire family, watched as I gestured to Frankie to join me on stage. Success isn't just about profits or power, he added, taking my hand. It's about building something that lasts, something real. From the front row, my mother dabbed at her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. Next to her, Shiloh and James sat close together, their hands linked. The investigation had cost them, but they were rebuilding, the right way this time. And now, I continued, I'd like to introduce our new board of directors. One by one they stood. Angela, our new communications director. Wendy, heading up legal affairs. Even my mother, bringing decades of social networking expertise to our public relations team. Together, I said, meeting each of their eyes, we're launching the Wallace Jenkins Foundation for Sustainable Innovation. Because true sustainability isn't just about energy, it's about relationships, trust, and second chances. The applause was thunderous. As we moved to the reception afterward, Chandler's absence was notably conspicuous. Last I'd heard, he'd taken a sabbatical to the Cayman Islands. Quite the speech, my mother said, approaching with 2 champagne flutes. Your father would have been proud. Would he? I accepted the glass. Or would he have thought I was naive? Oh, darling. She smiled sadly. He always said you were the only one who really understood what he was trying to build. Not just wealth, legacy. Before I could respond, Shiloh joined us, looking uncharacteristically nervous. So, she fidgeted with her glass, James and I were thinking about starting a family. Really? I tried to keep the surprise from my voice. Yes, and I don't want my children growing up thinking money is more important than love. I don't want to make the same mistakes. Speaking of mistakes, my mother interjected, I believe I owe you both an apology, a real one. She set down her glass, squaring her shoulders like she was facing a firing squad. I was wrong, she said simply, about everything, about Frankie, about what makes a family strong, about what really matters, and I'm sorry. Mom, Shiloh started. No, let me finish. She took a deep breath. I was so scared of losing what we had, I nearly destroyed it myself. But watching you all these past few weeks, working together, fighting together, I finally understood what your father always said. The strongest foundations aren't built on fear. Wendy appeared, wrapping an arm around me. They're built on trust. And love, Angela added, joining our circle. And forgiveness? My mother asked softly. I looked at Frankie across the room, watching us with a knowing smile. He'd told me once that family was like his sustainable energy project. It took work, patience, and faith in something bigger than yourself. Forgiveness, I agreed, pulling my mother into a hug. But with conditions. She laughed through tears. Of course, you are my daughter, after all. Speaking of conditions, Shiloh said, James and I were thinking, maybe we could do Sunday dinners at your place. She looked at me hopefully. If you want. I'd like that, I surprised myself by meaning it. But I'm not cooking. God, no, Wendy shuddered. Remember the Thanksgiving turkey incident? That was one time. The fire department remembers it too, Angela teased. We were all laughing when Frankie finally joined us, sliding an arm around my waist. Everything okay here? He asked. I looked at my family, really looked at them. My mother, finally letting her guard down. Shiloh, learning to value love over status. Wendy, finding her voice. Angela, who'd been family all along. Yeah, I said, everything's perfect. Perfect? He raised an eyebrow. The Wallace women admitting to perfect? Well, my mother smiled slyly. Perhaps not perfect, but perfectly imperfect. I'll drink to that, Shiloh raised her glass. To perfectly imperfect families. And new beginnings, Wendy added. And sustainable relationships, Angela chimed in. And love, I finished, looking at Frankie. Above all else, to love. As our glasses clinked together, I felt it. That shift from broken to healing, from fear to faith, from power to strength. We weren't the same family we'd been 5 years ago. We were something better, something real, something that would last. And as the evening wound down, surrounded by the people I loved, all of them, complicated and difficult and wonderful, I finally understood what Dad had written in his last letter to me. The greatest legacy isn't what we leave behind, but what we build together. We were building something extraordinary. And this time, we were doing it right.